Hi there, Johan from WI here. In this video, I want to answer the question that I'm sure many young people have on whether or not they should take a gap year straight after school, or if they should continue with their tertiary studies and then only after finishing their studies consider taking a gap year. So, to get right into it, if you are an A student, you're doing well at school, your grades are high, and you are studying well, you've learned to study independently, you've learned how to get through your work, and you are really comfortable with academic and school work and are doing well, then I would say, short answer, no, do not do a gap year. Rather concentrate on completing your tertiary studies. So go to university, go to college, and continue with your studies. Second option, if you are 100% sure of your career choice, what it is you want to do in life, what it is you want to pursue as a career, then my answer again is no, don't do gap year travel. Continue with your tertiary studies and get going with that sooner than later. Now, that doesn't mean that you cannot take a gap year, but you will then most likely only take your gap year at the end of your studies. And that could probably lead into something like a career-orientated internship abroad, which is slightly different than just doing a gap year in between school and your studies. Your internship abroad would be more about early career development, continued education in terms of what you've studied now, gaining more practical knowledge, getting more work experience in the industry that you intend to work in, and then obviously networking with other role players within that industry. And that's a really good way to gain an introduction, and especially an international introduction into your chosen career and your chosen industry of choice. Now, the reason why it's important to answer this question and to answer it well, and to be very clear on whether you should take a gap year straight after school or continue with your tertiary studies and then do an internship after that, is that there is a very high cost to making a mistake at this point in your life where this decision has to be made. There are the obvious anxieties and stresses and possibly even depression that would go along with making a wrong study or career choice. So if you're not 100% sure of your career, you're not 100% sure of what it is you want to pursue as a job or for your future, then I would suggest that yes, take a gap year. Definitely the cost of making a mistake and making a wrong choice at this stage is just too high. You end up studying for a couple of months, maybe even years, in a career that you're not satisfied in and something that you don't intend to pursue. So the financial losses can be great, not even to talk about the lack of reward in doing something that you're not inspired to do. So certainly that's why it is important to make the right decision at this time in your life. So if you're not an A student or you're not 100% sure of your career choice, then my answer is an emphatic yes, take a gap year. But I'd be cautious to say, what is a gap year? It's not just sitting at home doing nothing, lying on the couch and watching Netflix. No, it is a structured period of time. So that could be where you divide your year into quarters and you have very specific objectives that you want to achieve in those quarters. That could be learning a new skill, doing some local home volunteering in your home country. You can then obviously go for an international gap year, which is a little bit different to an internship abroad that I mentioned earlier. An international gap year is not necessarily career orientated. I would actually go as far as to advise and say, do a gap year where you can broaden your experience and your perspective. Do something that you're not necessarily familiar with or that you're not necessarily going to do at some point in future anyway. This could take on the form of something like humanitarian or community volunteering or wildlife conservation volunteering. And if you are interested in wildlife conservation, see the link below, some of the programs that WI offer. Click on that if you are interested to obtain further information on the most amazing wildlife conservation volunteer programs in South Africa. Your gap year could just be some backpacking, just some traveling around, maybe teaching English as a foreign language abroad, joining a summer camp as a camp counselor. Very familiar with our US students would be familiar with that, but an opportunity that is available for everyone internationally to join a camp counselor summer camp in America, or just gain some work experience, maybe work in the hospitality industry, waitering your way around the world. So these are some ideas of what a gap year or an international gap year could be. And as I said, it's not necessarily career orientated, but it really is about broadening your experience and broadening your perspective during that time. If you do intend to take an international gap year abroad, there are some very definite benefits to doing that, and many of those benefits are amplified if you were to do that before your college studies. That could be the different perspectives that you would obtain and the different perspectives that you would gain from living outside of your limited school setting, or maybe even mainstream education and the parameters of mainstream education, or your own cultural bubble in which you were raised, your background, the area where you were raised. An international gap year will definitely give you a different perspective, and a different perspective is important because it will show you that there are various roads to the same destination. We are all going to work for a living and we have to provide in our own subsistence and support, but gaining a different perspective may just enable you to understand that there could be a different and a more creative and even a more inspiring way to do your daily living. There's certainly no urgency. We all got to get around to working sometime. Taking a year off in the greater scheme of things and over a lifetime and over a lifespan is really not a lot of time. And certainly the benefits that you would gain from that different perspective would far outweigh the time spent in a gap year. Then also you would have to navigate foreign countries and different cultures. This is going to force you to learn to be a better communicator. It's definitely going to increase your emotional intelligence. You're going to definitely benefit from greater self-discovery, to really get to know yourself especially in a different environment, especially in a different setting, and as I said, outside of your existing cultural background. And it's going to help you to really make you understand what makes you tick. What is it that inspires you? What is it that you find truly rewarding? Gives you time to actually gain those experiences and make those decisions. It'll show you how you handle stress, how you function under pressure. You are in a foreign country, you have to move around, you have to navigate, you have to travel and find accommodation and interact with people. And some of these situations can be quite stressful, and it will clearly show you how you are able to handle stress, and certainly how do you function under pressure. These are all very valuable life skills for you to gain, especially at a young age, and they'll help you inform decisions into your future. Your gap year abroad will also help to improve your organizational skills. As I said earlier, you're going to be traveling in different countries. You have to plan your itinerary. You have to navigate your way around trains, buses, taxis, whatever the case may be. You have to arrange your own accommodation. You have to do meal planning. All these sort of things will really help to improve your organizational skills in a real life setting. It's definitely going to help you to increase your financial intelligence. Better budgeting. Many of you may be working for the first time during your gap year abroad. You'll be earning wages, you'll be paying for your own subsistence, maybe also for the first time. So certainly your financial intelligence is going to increase, and you're going to learn better budgeting skills, being reliant and dependent on yourself. Very big benefit is that you are going to get exposure to more career options. And that's an important one. I don't want you to underestimate that. An example could be, and you may never have had exposure to this in your current background or your current experience or your current setting, but you could be a wildlife photographer, you could be a scuba dive instructor, you could be a fitness trainer. Whatever the case may be, these may be career options that you've just never had exposure to. And doing your gap year in an overseas foreign country quite often exposes you to many more and many different career options that you may not have considered. And very important, maybe the most important, it gives you time to really kindle your passion and passion and understanding what you want to do is quite often a product of time and a product of experience. And doing your international gap year will just really give you a little bit more time to kindle that passion, whatever that may be, to pursue some of those interests that you may have and you've never had the opportunity to pursue, and then to really come to an understanding of what it is that makes you tick and really what it is that you are passionate about. Doing your international gap year abroad is at the very least going to increase your independence and your autonomy. You're going to gain much more life experience, you're going to gain greater personal growth, and you're going to be far more appreciative of the financial commitments around studying or even living on your own, and those skills will certainly make you a better student if you then go back into tertiary education, or if you continue with a working career, it's going to make you a better employee. I hope you found this information of interest, helps you to make the right decision on whether or not you should take a gap year straight after school. And certainly, if you are interested, follow the link below if you're watching on YouTube for some great and amazing wildlife volunteer opportunities in South Africa.